a female transgender girl, and I have a lot of friends who are curious what it's like to be transgender, and they've asked me many questions on what it's like to, uh, go through what I do on a daily basis. And I thought it would be helpful if I did a video to answer their questions, or as many of their questions as I possibly can, and just direct them to my video. A common question that comes up is, when did you realize you were different and not comfortable in the born sex you were? And I, for the longest time, knew that I was different. I knew since the age of 3 that something wasn't right, and I gravitated towards wearing girls' clothes, having taken one of my sister's dresses and wearing that on a regular basis. So I knew at a very young age. Typically, transgender or transsexually identified individuals usually know at a very young age, and I definitely fall within that grouping of people who identify as transgender and or transsexual. So I knew since the age of 3. Another common question that comes up is, if you knew you were trans, or if you knew that there was something different, why didn't you express it to your family to get the help that you needed? And I know personally that I was petrified to even consider telling my family. I couldn't tell my mom or my dad, or my sisters for that matter. I didn't even understand it myself, so there was no way I could explain it to them, and I didn't know how they would react. So I kind of struggled with it and buried it within myself and just tried to lock it away. And I did for a while, but as you get older, the feelings become more intense, and you just realize that there's really no understanding of why you have those feelings, but they're very real, and it's probably better to explain it to a family member, because if you do what I did, you'd suffer and struggle for a whole lifetime. And I think it's most important that you address those issues at a younger age. And I think today it is becoming more common that transgender youth are being more open and expressing themselves to their families, and I think that's a good thing. When I was growing up, it wasn't really possible for me, so I had to live with it and just struggle. But I think it's important to open up and discuss something as important as that. Another question that comes up is, when did I start cross-dressing? And what is it like? Well, I technically started cross-dressing at age 3 when I tried on one of my sister's dresses, and I kept that dress. So I was cross-dressing at a very young age, and I cross-dressed most of my life. I suppressed and repressed my dressing for some time, and I even purged a lot of my clothes over time, but that never stopped my desire or need to cross-dress. In fact, it only intensified it. So purging was a waste of money, plus it made me sad when I realized all the beautiful clothes that I gave away. So I don't recommend purging to anybody out there. It really will come back and bite you later on. Another question that my friends or people in general ask me is, how do I feel in a sexual way? Like, who am I attracted to? And I don't know why, but a lot of people assume that if you're transgender, you're gay, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. Gender identity and sexual identity are two different animals. They have nothing in common. A transgender person can be gay, straight, or bisexual. It really doesn't matter. Sexual identity has to do with the sex that you're attracted to, and gender identity has to do with the gender you identify as. So in my case, I was born a boy, but I identify as a girl. So I'm male to female transgender. That in no way has anything to do with the type of person I'm attracted to. As a trans woman, I would most likely be attracted to men, but I would only be based on the contingency that I'd had the full surgery to construct a vagina. But I, at this time, am attracted to women, and I have a wife, so that would mean that I would be considered a lesbian. So gender identity and sexual identity have nothing to do with each other. They're both separate, and they should be separate. Other question. How does my relationship with my wife and my son, how is that? Is it positive, or are you causing difficulties in those relationships? And I say that my love and feelings for my wife and son are the same as they always have been, and that will never change. However, the relationships have changed to the degree that my wife feels betrayed and uncomfortable with my situation as a male to female transgender woman. She's come around, but it's still hard for her. But I'm dressing in front of her and my son, and I'm living 24/7 as a woman. And the relationship with my son is very positive. He's a very understanding kid, and he loves me regardless. And I love my son very, very much. And I would never hurt my wife or my son. They mean everything to me. So it has affected my relationships with my wife and son. It took my son a while to get used to the idea, but now it's like second nature to him, and he's very accepting, and I'm very proud of him, and I think he's special. Another question is, how do I go out in public? Do I feel comfortable? And am I usually read? Meaning, do people usually recognize me as a male, even though I'm living as a female? And I would say, for the most part, that I am passing well, and I'm not boasting about it. I'm just telling you from my experiences of being out and going to the stores and malls and places that people address me as a female, even with my voice, despite the fact that I still sound male, I'm very much seen as a woman. And I go to the women's bathrooms and I have no problems. And I just look and act the part. And my body language says female. And I present as female. And I have my hair to look female, right? And I have earrings that show I'm a female. I have this, and I have this. So I'm transitioning. I've been transitioning for the past 3 years. I'm becoming more confident in how I present and how I look in public. I'm taking medication. I take estradiol and spironolactone. I think I have some here actually. My medication for my hormones is estradiol and spironolactone. My Spiro, I take 2 shoot, sorry. I take 2 tablets that look like that. I don't know if you can really see it, it's tiny, but they look like that. Oh boy. Never do that again. But this is my Spiro, the lactone. And my estradiol. Where did I put that? I have it. I don't know where I put it though. I thought I had it. That's weird. Oh, I found it. Wouldn't you know, it's in my pocket, in my lap. So my estradiol are blue pills, and I take 3 of those. I don't want to drop this. They look like this. They're tiny little blue pills. I take 3 of them. And it comes in a little bottle like this, and it's estradiol. So those are the hormones. Estradiol is my estrogen, and spironolactone is the testosterone blocker that I take. And I've been much happier taking those pills, hormones. That's what helps me in looking more feminine. I'm also gonna take Provera, which I'm going on my own with. So I'll be taking estradiol, Provera, and spironolactone. And the Provera I want to use so I can develop more in my chest area. I've read where that helps enlarge in the breast size. So that's something that I look forward to. Another question that comes up is, do I feel any different with the use of hormones? And I would say that the differences that I noticed in the beginning were minor, and over time I felt like my skin started to become much more softer to the touch, and I also noticed that my face looked slightly more feminine, especially when my hair is growing out longer. If I style my hair and I look in the mirror, I seem more female now than I do male. And I think I'll look even more feminine when I lose more weight. So overall, I do feel positive effects from taking the hormones and the testosterone blockers. I also obviously have developed small breasts, which I'm happy about, but I would like to have a larger chest size. I fit a 34A cup, so that's a good thing. And people ask me, what is my most favorite item that I like to wear? And I would definitely say dresses and shoes. Women's dresses and women's shoes are my favorite. I could go shopping every day for that, and I love it. I just feel happy when I'm in a dress and beautiful shoes. Another thing people ask me is, do I feel guilty about transitioning, being that I have a family? And I would tell them, in the initial stages of my transition, I was very confused, and I felt very lost and very guilty. I felt guilty about not telling my family in the first place, and then I felt guilty springing it on them. But now that I'm into my third year, everything seems fine, and I think overall it's been positive, and I'm much happier. So I think going forward it will be a good opportunity for me to live and feel as a woman, and I'm all excited. I'm happy, and I smile, and I love taking pictures, and I love doing videos. I have more excitement in my life. Certainly I want to work again if and when that opportunity presents itself. But for now, I'm just trying to make the best of my situation, continue on with my transition, still be loving and supportive dad to my son, and a loving and supporting husband to my wife, despite the fact that I'm becoming a female. Another question that comes up is, did I ever have trouble with the authorities when I'm dressed as a female? And I've never really had any trouble. I was stopped by a cop a couple of times, and they asked for my license, and I was presenting as a female. And I think initially one of the cops looked kind of puzzled at first, because he looked at my license, and then he looked at me, and he looked back at the license, and then I just said, "Oh, I'm transgender," and he goes, "Yes, I can tell that." So, but I never had any problem from that. And also when I was taken to the hospital by the police for various reasons, I was dressed as a female, but I had to tell them my name and all, and they looked at me and they were surprised, but initially, after that surprise wore off, they were fine, and they treated me with respect and dignity. So overall, I never really encountered any problems with any authorities. In fact, I've never encountered any problems with anybody. So I'm a lucky girl because I haven't really had threats or fear that some trans girls experience. And in fact, when I was in the hospital, they let me have my own privacy. I had my own room. So I think I'm doing okay and passing pretty good. I'm lucky in that regard. Another question that came up was why did I wait so long to transition? How did you initiate the when did you start getting help? Well, this is a two-part question. The answer to the first part is that I was afraid to transition. I wasn't ready, though I wanted to transition as early as my high school days, and I felt that that would have been a good time to transition because I was young, but I didn't have any financial resources to seek counseling. Plus, I couldn't explain it to my parents, so I never had that opportunity. Then as I got older, I didn't leave my house until my mid-30s, so I couldn't transition while living at home. My mom had already passed away, so it was just my dad and I. And my dad was depressed and struggled, and he worked hard, so certainly I didn't want to transition at that point. So, and then eventually I met a girl and married and had a family. So transitioning didn't become a realistic goal for me. And I kept putting it on the back burner, thinking that it would never happen as much as I wanted it to. The second part of the question is I knew I wanted to transition early, and the main reason why I decided to transition was the result of losing my dad to suicide and losing a close friend who helped me through my dad's suicide. 2 years later, he died, and I went to his wake, and I realized that my life is short, and I want to be happy, and that's when I started going back to therapy and realized that I have to transition. So here I am on my path towards becoming a female, and I'm much happier. I've never felt happier. I love wearing my dresses and shopping and being expressive of my femininity, and there's no looking back, only looking forward. Another question is, does transitioning impact relationships within your family? And I definitely say yes, because I have two sisters who aren't supportive. They don't get in touch with me really, very limited contact, and I almost sense that they don't enjoy my transitioning or feel comfortable about it, and certainly they want me to not be influential in their children's lives, so they kind of shut the door out on me, and I think that's a shame because I'm the same person as I ever was. I'm just expressing the true me, which is something I have to do. And if they don't want to have that relationship, then it's their loss, not mine. And I'm very sad that it has to be that way. But that's their call. That's not mine. You know, I would be there and be supportive and, you know, initiate, but they don't want that, so then that's the way it goes. So definitely it does impact on family and relationships. Another question that comes up is do I ever feel effects from the hormones that I'm taking? Has it affected me? Has it made me more sensitive? And I would honestly say that for a lot of trans women, taking estradiol has made them more prone to crying and heighten their sensitivity levels. But I haven't noticed that in my case. I don't feel any different. I've been emotional all my life, so I don't feel any difference from taking estradiol. The only differences that I feel is that my skin is softer and my face is more feminine looking. But as far as emotions go, I think it's pretty much the same. I don't think the hormones change my emotions that much, if any. So I believe that it may, but I haven't realized that yet. Any other questions that my friends asked me that I can share with you? There are so many. I should write them out next time. It'd be a lot easier. But I think the hardest part for anyone who has a friend or a loved one transitioning is how that relationship has changed. And it's very hard for a transgender person to show what's going on in their life and being totally honest and upfront, because you have to understand that many transgender people live in the closet in secret. They live their lives in their opposite gender role, and they're embarrassed or ashamed to come out. So eventually, if they decide